we're going to talk a bit about the EV clean car discount. Now, I saw Kirsten on the news in the weekend, and I thought she looks interesting, so I contacted Drive. Drive's great freeze frame for both of us. I don't know quite what was going on before that. I'm going to play you because we're going to have full shows this week. I don't think we've got a full kind of 15 to 20 minutes to play. So tonight I will release the full one on YouTube. It's already there and it's hidden. If you're a patron, you've probably already seen it. But we'll release the full one tonight, which is about 14 or 15 minutes. But I'm going to play you a clip, and this clip is really about the clean car discount and why it's so important. Okay, and because Chewy is looking so fly tonight, Chewy, just so you know, I think you and I are going to stay visible during this conversation while it's playing as well, down in the bottom left-hand corner. So don't take anything off yet, or nothing off that can be seen by the camera. So this is a part of the conversation where we're basically talking about what is the country going to miss out on, and what's the bad thing about getting rid of the clean car discount. Let's have a listen. And the thing that I've been wanting to talk about is our new Prime Minister is quoted on one of the breakfast shows last week when they were talking about policy and legislation that they're going to, quote, go through all the dumb stuff, get rid of the dumb stuff and the stuff that's not working. My understanding is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the clean car discount as of right now is not costing the country anything. It's either profitable or neutral, which means it's not dumb, it's washing its own face. And I believe it's made us one of the top 3, 4, 5 countries in the world per capita for EV uptakes. So if that's all correct, my question is, why are they getting rid of it? They seem to be doing something opposite from what they're saying. It's a smart policy and it's paying for itself. Can you speak to that for us?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think it's like all policies we see come in. Over time, they can be tweaked and improved.
Mm-hmm.
There are aspects of this policy that National don't like, and the aspects are that we're funding. We've got incentives in there for consumers, and consumers typically keep their car for 7 to 10 years.
Right.
And what they're wanting to see is some sort of incentive or some sort of program in place that we can see greater second, third hand rollout of electric vehicles. So certainly our conversation with National is we need incentives. You're absolutely right, Pat, that the clean car discount has, in the last 2 months, has got to a place where it is cost neutral. Up until that, it has been costing us millions. However, I guess there's a couple of reasons why we think incentives are worthy of investment. And if we look at, the recent news of Fonterra getting pressure from Danone and Nestle to say, yes, we want to work with you, but we actually need to see you cleaning up your act from a sustainability point of view. So we're a trading country and we need partners that we can work with. And so those big international players want to see us being sustainable. So that's, I guess, a very strong reason to do it. Another reason is we spend $9 billion with the petrochemical industry each year, and
Right.
a huge chunk of that goes offshore. And a fun fact, which I really like, if you're filling up your car with petrol, a 6.9 litre, you'll be paying $21 per 100 kilometres. If you're charging your EV at home off peak, it'll be costing you around $2 per 100 kilometres.
Yeah.
So you can see that $9 billion that we send offshore, well, a huge chunk of it goes offshore. We can see the economic opportunity for Kiwis if we are able to electrify. And I guess that comes to the importance of an incentive program, because we need to be creating that second and third hand market so EVs are affordable for everyone. So you think about the impact on Kiwis, bottom lines or back pockets, if they could electrify and have extra money in the piggy bank each week instead of spending that with the petrochemical industry. So that's another key reason. And just to throw in another one as well, and then I'll let you ask another question, Pat. You can see I get quite passionate about this.
Yeah, for
waving
sure.
my arms around, it's all going on. So the other reason too is we spend $10.5 billion. Well, there's two reasons actually. We spend $10.5 billion in social costs for the 2,247 people that die each year directly related to our transport emissions. So a friend said to me yesterday morning, he was complaining about the 6K he was charged buying his ute. And I said, think of it as a smoking tax, because currently the cars we drive are literally killing over 2,000 Kiwis, and that's coming at a social cost to our DHBs that are having asthma cases, those sort of incidents coming through their doors. So I said, look, I make no apology of it, and you really don't need to be driving a ute. But I guess the fourth reason is too that Treasury are currently forecasting that we're going to spend $20 billion on international offsets come 2030 because we haven't got it together. So spending a couple of hundred, even $100 million when we're looking at spending $20 billion to go offshore to plant trees in third world countries come 2030.
Yeah.
And that's before we even remove the clean car discount. Treasury were forecasting that. So
Wow.
I don't know. For me, those are really compelling reasons to have an incentive program for electric vehicles.
You talk about the social, and there we go. Chewy, you are far more up to the play with EVs than I. Things in there, good, bad, and different. What did you find? I found it incredible. The other thing that that Kieran said last night as well is only 10% of utes being bought are being bought for actual for work. Like people,
yeah, that's absolutely true.
So 90% of them, 90% of them are just a choice. So National going on and on about the ute tax for farmers. That's not it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I said that right when they started talking about the ute tax, right? It was only going to apply to new vehicles, not all of the existing stock.
Yeah.
The thousands and thousands of utes that are already here. The whole purpose. And I don't know, this seems really obvious to me. The whole purpose of the clean car rebate and the clean car standard, well, the rebate especially, was to get cars going through in the second-hand market. Lots of people keep their cars for 5 years and then they sell them. They wait till the warranty's gone and they flip them off to the second-hand market. I have an EV. I got a second-hand one. So I didn't get the benefit of the clean car rebate because it had already been registered. What I did get the benefit of, that the rebate had pushed prices down because there were so many secondhand Leafs being imported and people trying to sell their like first and second generation EVs, and they had to make it competitive in that price. So I had a car that I had seen going for 30,000, under 20,000 within the space of 8 months.
Yeah.
So I am a beneficiary of that clean car rebate. And now, anecdotally from people that have talked to at car yards, this is absolute, like there's a peak now of people buying the stock that's available. And a lot of car yards are scrambling to register the stock that they have now so they can claim the rebate and bring the price down.
Yeah.
But once that stock's done and they can't do it, suddenly the prices of EVs are going to increase by like $7,500.
And then who's going to buy them?
We still don't have an answer from the government. Like everybody knows that in the EV community knows that road user charges are coming. The exemption from them runs out, I believe, in March, April, sometime around there. But there's no news about what's replacing it. And I don't have any confidence in the government to come up, like this is a perfect opportunity for them to completely review how road user charges and fuel excise works. But that would take long-term thinking. And it's very clear that these guys aren't doing it. They're coming at from an ideological standpoint. They don't, Simeon Brown has stopped projects on public transport and walking and cycling. It's definitely, hey, the petrol car is back and roads again. So I have no faith in them to look at this and be an honest actor on the best way forward for road user charges. Maybe they'll just go, yeah, cool, road user charges, same as we do diesel. That's it. It doesn't solve a bunch of problems.
I think one of the most interesting things I heard last night with Kieran is like if this national party national government was really serious about this, what they do is they'd carve out that 10%. Like if you actually are on a farm, sure, no tax for you. But for the people, no taxes for you. But you remember that? The soup Nazi? Seinfeld? Anyway.
That shouldn't be hard.
Yeah,
but,
I know, absolutely.
Stand in a city and count the amount of sign-written utes that go past for real estate agents,
Yep.
radio stations,
Advertising companies.
If you go overseas and you look at tradie vehicles, like you go to the UK, they don't use utes, they use panel vans. You know, the ute culture is us, Australia, and America with their monstrous urban assault
Pickup
vehicles.
trucks. Yeah.
And they're just not like I see lots of things on Facebook at the moment comparing the tray space, the bed space of something like a Ford F-150, this enormous vehicle, and putting it next to one of those Japanese micro trucks.
Yep.
And showing that they had the same amount of tray space. You know, it's and I don't understand when there are electric utes on the market, and nobody is saying that is the one solution for all people.
Yeah.
But I think if I was a tradie in an urban area of a carpenter or a sparky or something like that, and I'm driving around town and going to my work site, and I'm not going off road, and I don't need 4-wheel drive, and you know what, having a vehicle to load power off the car's battery pack, having a 300-kilometer range is more than enough. Like, you know, to do all of these things, it's just the change in the mindset. You don't need something to do 500 kilometers in one hit. Most people don't.
And there's at least two of them available now. There's the Great Wall one, and there's the Rivian. And they're talking about, in America, they call it the Ford 150 Lightning. The Range Rover here, I think, is releasing one next year. I think maybe one thing that the government, and I'm not saying they got it wrong, but if I was going to compromise, I'd say maybe they could have waited for the ute tax until there wasn't an electric opportunity. Because then the people who even needed them could have gone, well, I'll get the electric. Because remember, they started it before there was any electric utes in the country. They could have at least had the option then. But either way, they're like 90% of them aren't needed. They're a luxury item. They're a choice.
And I mean, I'm not a car guy. I'm a tech guy. That's my background, like tech sales and computers and stuff like that. And so I'm coming at it from this point of view. There is so much advancement in this field. Like 9 times out of 10 when I see, and I even see a couple of them, the comments in the chat as well, that are old info. Like, oh, it'll cost $20,000 to get a battery pack replaced. You know, you have to do that every 5 years. All of this sort of stuff. It's all wrong. It's all outdated information. And a lot of it is to do with the amount of secondhand Leafs we have in this country that have the batteries that degrade really fast.
Right.
I mean, my own personal example, I have a car whose nominal range is 200 kilometers an hour. It's 5 years old. It's done 130,000 Ks, and there is no degradation in the battery at all.
Because you can test it, eh? You can get a test.
Yeah, you can test it. You can pull out reviews and that sort of thing. Like, think of how many cars you have kept for like 10 years. You know, most people are replacing their cars quicker. You can repurpose a battery that, like an clapped out old Leaf that'll only do less than 50 kilometers an hour. You can take that battery out. There's 2 companies in this country that will repack that battery as a backup battery for your house, for solar. Perfectly fine for a house, just not great for a car. And then you can get a new Leaf battery. There's another company that'll do that. So things are changing. People talk about cobalt and rare earth minerals. The new batteries that are coming through don't have any of it.
I was just saying, it's just similar to your phones. Like I've just looked at my battery on my phone at 88%. So it's 3 years old and it's lost 12% of its capacity because, you know, cell phones aren't the same, but there's a way you can actually look to see what the quality of the batteries are. There's JC in the comment.
Same with cars.
Jesus Christ is in the comment, apparently. Jesus Christ says 40,000 Ks of my EV so far. I would never go back to an ancient. What's the I? It's combustible engine. What's the I? Internal combustion engine. Not a single problem to date. Leave the house with a full tank every time.